Great. Thank you, Lauren. And thanks everybody for joining in today. We really appreciate you joining in. I'm excited for this session as there's great work taking place with community solar, particularly here in Oregon. We'll get to hear about and also get to hear quite a bit about what HAMPSWIRE has been working on. And so some excellent efforts here lately. So looking forward to that. So I'm Catherine Maddox. I'm Project Director for Energy Partnerships here at the National Community Action Partnership. If we haven't had a chance to meet, I look forward to talking with you soon. We are funded by the Department of Energy to offer training and assistance to the WAP network as you develop partnerships to leverage your WAP. So areas of assistance that we can help you with, we can connect you with experienced peers like those we're having on the call today. We can assist with data collection, messaging, or help get things off the ground for you. And again, whether this is related to solar, if this is related to partnering with a utility company to seek out additional energy efficiency funds, an array of types of leveraging, that we can work with you on. We can share advocacy and research resources, tools and templates, trainings and webinars. We hope you're able to attend our first virtual convention last month or August. So we'll be holding that again here in January, our Management Leadership Training Convention. So keep an eye out for those dates. And I'll turn it over here to our presenters here. I just want to introduce them. You've probably seen these folks here on earlier trainings and webinars, but just want to make sure you're familiar with their background. So Keith Cooney is the Energy Policy Coordinator for the Community Action Partnership of Oregon, managing the association's low energy advocacy and the CAA's policy needs. He's been the Energy Policy Coordinator since 2013, intervening in Public Utility Commission cases related to low income and rate issues, and supporting agencies with special projects and program management when needed. Keith's role is dedicated to increasing resources to low-income families and CAAs, and previously he was a project coordinator for the Kansas Senate Democrats. Stephen Leitner is our next panelist after Keith, and after 20 years working at Fortune 500 companies as Chief Information Officer and Management Consultant, Stephen joined the not-for-profit sector to bring some transformative changes to how not-for-profit agencies serve the low-income population. As the Chief Operating Officer of HAMPSWIRE, Stephen manages all day-to-day functions. Applying what he executed in the for-profit sector, Stephen's unique vision for not-for-profit and low-income solar fundamentally changes the opportunity to include an underserved market. Stephen also serves as Greater Bergen Community Action's Chief Innovation Officer and Chief Operating Officer of the Weatherization and Lead programs. All right, so I'll turn it over to Keith. Thanks, Keith.
Thanks, Catherine. Thank you for having me, everybody. Just talk a little bit about myself as I go through these slides. I'm Keith Cooney. As I was introduced, I'm the Energy Policy Coordinator for the Community Action Partnership of Oregon. The Community Action Partnerships of Oregon is the state association that represents all of our community action agencies. We here in Oregon have 17 community action agencies, though we have 18 member agencies. We deliver the statewide energy assistance and weatherization benefits along with emergency housing assistance, food banks, just a typical community action network. I think where we're atypical is in the strength of our association. We do have a large state association that supports our agencies and funds my position full time. My position has many hats. I do a lot of our legislative work, negotiating our bills at the Oregon Legislature. I represent us at the Public Utilities Commission, which here in Oregon, many of our programs are run directly from the commission. I also have a contract with the state of Oregon to represent low-income ratepayers. So I kind of have a little bit of different knowledge base, really based in the utility world, not necessarily the community action world. That world's a little bit more foreign to me than the energy world and the utility commission. My history is I am a trained lawyer. I went to law school. Kind of don't use that too much anymore, other than maybe help writing administrative rules for our programs. But and then I also represent, our agency needs where I can help support, programmatic support. We've run a lot of pilots out of our agency, a natural gas or an oil conversion program where we used many funds to weave together to change out oil heated homes to natural gas. As many people know, solar is a growing field. The price of solar has dropped 80% in the last 10 years, and historically it hasn't been a great value for low income. We know a lot of the issues that come with low income, roofs that aren't managed well, homes, and then the overall cost hasn't been cost effective for the investment and for low income. That's kind of changing. That's why we're here today. I am trying to switch the slide. There we go.
You can just say next slide when you'd like.
Sorry, I should have had that in my head. I blinked for a second.
No worries, yeah.
We kind of consider the Community Action Partnership of Oregon a leader in energy. We've actually been in most major discussions. I think you have to have a strong centralized presence in your state, hire a full-time person like me. I know that's hard to set aside those funds. I feel like they are, I've more than earned the set aside. But we are a member of the Oregon Solar Industries Association. That is the association that represents solar companies, solar developers. We consider ourselves now a solar developer. We negotiate with the utilities on most major climate legislation. CAPO was named as a member to the Climate Commission and helped writing the cap and trade bill that ultimately failed. But we've been a part of those negotiations. You want to go ahead and next slide? Okay, so as a part of the Coal to Clean campaign, community solar was born here in Oregon. In 2016, Oregon passed a law that said that there's no longer going to be coal-in rates. Utilities aren't allowed to use coal in Oregon anymore. They have to find their power generation and charge customers from non-coal related entities. A subsection of this bill was community solar. Community solar was negotiated with the utility companies, and we put in a requirement that mandated that 10% of the community solar program would be filled by low-income residents, and that they had to be provided a benefit. Next slide, please. Trying to describe community solar can get a little hectic, but I try to describe it in this way. It's a condo plex for solar. You can own a subscription for an off-site solar installation. So if you live in a rental, if you're in an apartment, if you're not in a solar-facing home, you can still have access to renewable energy that you own. Traditionally, rooftop solar was the only option for homeowners that wanted to invest in renewable energy. And for those that might not know, net metering is a policy that pays, a residential homeowner for the value of the solar. So retail rate is what the utility charges a customer. Traditionally, most states have a net metering policy, meaning the utility will pay the homeowner for the same price that is sold to the homeowner. And then you can net or zero out your bill month to month. If you produce enough power over that month, then you will have a zero cost bill. Community solar, you just own the solar, but it's in a field, and it can be in the utility territory. The reason that works is because you can build this scale. Can you go next slide, please? So when you build to scale, you'll see the picture here of a large array that's several acres. A lot of the costs related to rooftop solar are soft costs, permitting, licensing, installation, and you still might not get the full value of solar because your, solar arrays might be southeast facing or southwest facing or not fully facing the south and taking advantage of the full sunlight. You might have some tree blockage. You're just not going to get the full value of a mounted solar panel and some of these can rotate with the sun, but you will get much more value. And you build the scale. So the permitting costs are reduced, per kilowatt hour. It's kind of how we talk, is per kilowatt hour is the price of energy, as you may know. So you reduce those soft costs with the permitting, and you get more value. The scale of the project brings down the cost and makes it much more valuable. So if you're spending money on solar, you'll get more value building it off-site, rather than building it on your roof and then having some of those issues that we run into with low income, which is you might need a new roof. You might need to upgrade your roof halfway through the life of a panel. And instead of having to remove those, pay the cost to improve your home and then put them back on, which can be literally tens of thousands of dollars. It's off-site, it's maintained. You don't have those type of maintenance costs that when you build the scale that you would have individually on your home. The liability is shifted from the homeowner to the project manager or the company that built the project and then is selling you that power for a reduced cost. Can you go next slide, please? Currently there's 19 states with community solar program. It's the fastest growing solar program in the country, just passing rooftop solar. It's a lot easier to finance. For rooftop solar, the homeowner has to be the financier. You have to go get a loan, most likely, unless you have the cash, and then you finance the construction and installation onto your roof. Well, that leaves out most low income that cannot receive the type of financing at the level they need to finance a rooftop solar project. What generally happens in community solar is a project manager or company will finance the whole project and then sell the subscription. So sell a piece of that for usually reduced below the price that you're buying power. So you get a reduction on your bill, but that power is sold directly to the consumer. So you don't have the hurdle of financing. You can get into historically underserved communities, and marginalized communities that haven't had historical access to community solar. So when you remove that financing portion, you can go out and go find a subscription from a solar company that's reputable and that are selling these. And our model kind of removes the private aspect of that, where we're running it through our nonprofit, our community action agency, and we're going to be giving away these subscriptions for reduced price. So they'll receive up to 20% off their bill. And also this allows commercial businesses to anchor projects. A lot of these projects will have, you might be able to finance it with a Target or a chain store that wants to have a reduction on their bill. So then you could fill up the rest of the program with low income at a reduced rate and by selling power to a potential commercial entity. Next slide, please. So coming from our model, and then this is our vision, is that, through Stephen and Cap Solar has been significant in being able to get this off the ground and being able to financing. I know Stephen's going to talk about the financing aspects of this later and kind of their role. But with our partnership, we're going to build, we have 2.6 megawatts. Our goal is much higher if we can. There's some permitting and utility shenanigans that you have to kind of weave through. But essentially, the low income responsibility of the CAP will be to enroll low income clients. So just for purposes, I'm going to call this a 3 megawatt project. That's kind of what our estimate was. So these 3 megawatts, usually in general, a megawatt serves about 1,500 homes-ish, based off where you are and the output of the solar garden. So we're going to enroll low-income clients. When they come in for LIHEAP, we know that they need a reduction on their bill. So we're going to give them a reduced power bill. We're going to enroll LIHEAP recipients from our agencies into this program. They will own a subscription. They will be tied to a piece of this solar garden. Their output from that garden gets reduced on their bill. And utility rates are 11.7 cents a kilowatt hour in this region, we're going to sell it for as low as 7 cents a kilowatt hour to our low-income clients. So you're getting a reduction of, over 4 cents a kilowatt hour. So 35–40% reduction on their bill that we're hopefully going to gain. We've had to do some maneuvering with the local jurisdictions, the county and the city, to get the land to build this. We are giving away a portion of the solar garden in exchange for the land for a 30-year lease of the land. Those are just kind of the flexible options you can use with this program, is that you can negotiate with local, this is the number one polling bipartisan issue in the country is solar. People see that as, a reduction on energy and dependence on utility companies, and so it polls well across the aisle. So there's a lot of political negotiation and leverage that you have by bringing a project like this to a local community. You're selling green power, the access to renewables and reduced cost power, all kind of rolled up into one, and many, local city politicians and local county commissioners are looking for a victory for their constituents, and this is a really easy victory for a lot of them. And in terms of for our agency, this is a way for them to generate unrestricted funds. We all know how useful unrestricted funds are in community action agencies. You can be a project manager and get a portion of what a project management fees is and use that as you're reducing the cost, you're generating unrestricted funds for your agency. Some of the work that you may have to do is panel cleaning, land management, negotiating the land use. We have a pretty complex tax. We're taking advantage of tax credits, setting up LLCs in conjunction with Cap Solar. So, and these solar arrays can take advantage of this while generating this flexible income. Next slide, please. So like I said, how does it specifically benefit low income? Well, we're going to give them reduced cost power. Current utility rates are 11.7 in that region, so significant reduction. And also it streamlines the community action process with the client. We will be providing the client power now as well as help managing their bills. We'll be able to see clients that have behind subscriptions and more easier access into those homes that we can see that might be paying late or building up an arrearage over time. So it reduces the friction between the utility and the community action agencies. We are going to be essentially the direct power provider, becoming what I like to call as a mini utility. And it's also just an easy enrollment into a renewable program. There's a building consensus that we need more renewables. And then one thing, a lot of community action agencies have land and space, large roofs or adjacent land. I've seen a lot of community action agencies that have space to put solar gardens on their property or on adjacent property. Next slide, please. So, and this is a benefit to solar developers. You can build your relationships with solar developers. A big cost of solar development is outreach and customer subscription management. When you have a solar garden, they have to sell those subscriptions and keep them full. When somebody moves out of the territory and drops their subscription, so if you move out of the utility territory that a solar garden's in, then you'll lose your subscription. Well, they have to spend money to go out and recruit somebody to fill that. And sometimes that's harder or easier said than done. But they usually have to pay full-time staff to manage subscription services. We don't have to do that as a community action agency. We have rolls and rolls of LIHEAP recipients that want reduced power. So we can easily fill it with the next family in line. So we have easy access for customer outreach. And we have income to pay off the investment, and we have it's a mutually beneficial community mission. This is a really easy win, and the wins are changing in community action agency, and it's good to diversify. We've relied on LIHEAP and DOE and some of these federal programs for a long time without building leverage partnerships. This gets you into spaces that I think ultimately community action agencies are going to be in anyway. At some point in time, I feel like we're going to be weatherizing with some level of solar development. So getting into those and building those relationships with the solar community has been very helpful. And also just on the advocate side, having those built conversations, now solar advocates understand poverty, low income, our clients better. So they actually respond when building now solar programs and understand kind of poverty in a better way. I've built those relationships and made, gains outside of this program with solar developers on ways that we can serve those clients. So it's been a mutually beneficial community mission. I think that's probably one of the better aspects of this is kind of the relationship building that's happened. Next slide. And so I think this is about our future. Like, what are we? Let's turn the internal glass on ourselves or view on ourselves, and what do we want? I think that being in renewables is a future that I would like to be in. Climate change is going to impact our clients the most, and there might be future funding models where LIHEAP can be a leverage. It also allows us to partner with environmental justice groups. And these funds will go further for our clients. We're going to build in this region. We're going to sign up 1,500 people to this project. That's 1,500 low-income people that are saving over a quarter of their bill. So those are LIHEAP funds that stretch further in that community. We're gonna build and stretch our leverage resources further by reducing the power costs of our clients. Next slide, please. This is Stevens. I want to close before we get to the Q&As. It's a hard process. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. You have to understand land use, but it's not impossible. And once you understand it the first time, it's easy to kind of take that and run with it. Like I understand the interconnection. We can get into some of these very specific words to the utility industry, but there's interconnection processes, permitting processes. We have to get certified as community solar. These processes are complex and hard, but you only have to learn them one time. And if you have one staff member that can teach others, the value is immense. And I think it's more valuable for you to understand the utility system. You kind of learn this by this progression through this process of creating a community solar garden for low income. It kind of broadens your knowledge. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Stephen, who's been our partner in this project and taken over he's the more 30,000 foot finance view. But Stephen, if you want to take over, I'll gladly hand off.
Oops. Thank you. We'll wait until I can cut over to my system. You guys let me know when I can do that. Oh, I can do that now. Well, thank you everybody for coming. Greatly appreciate it. We're very excited about working in Oregon with CAPO and Neighbor Impact, which is the other participant in this. My presentation is going to be touching on a lot of different factors, one of which is the in-depth process that we went through in Oregon, but we also have a couple other projects to discuss that may help you think about things in your own area. So how did COVID shift priorities from solar projects or projects that you could put your attention to in sort of leisure areas, the things that you could think about when you weren't swamped? So every single one of these issues sort of took our community action agency by storm very quickly. And I have to say, for all of community action and talking across the country, that there's just been an amazingly impressive response to the pandemic. Slowly, over the last 2 or 3 months, the solar market in community action has picked up significantly, and it's changed a little bit in the industry. So when we talk about investors, we talk about this limited list of investors, but there are some more, and they've changed quite a bit with their reaction to low-income community solar and low-income solar in general. You have to remember the clients that we're looking to serve have no credit, have low credit, and the number of these clients has exploded. Joblessness is pervasive. The need has never been more. Unfortunately, you learn from some of these markets that the people who are financing or have financing available don't feel the same way about impacting the people that need this help the most. They do have a responsibility to their own investors. So we look at social impact investors. This is created for issues such as this. But social impact investors in renewable also just invest in solar companies. They invest in things that are socially responsible writ large. So they stay on mission, and they have our mission, but they still have to answer to their investors. One other aspect of this is the corporate social responsibility portion of major corporations. They have separate divisions. They allocate a certain amount of their profits to this division, which is a handsome tax write-off, but it is meant to go for initiatives that are social. A lot of this money is invested in other countries. These are multinational organizations, and it's very difficult to get your hands on some of that. Utilities in our side of the country and in the East Coast generally invest this in education, and it's pretty much anything that isn't utility-based. We hit our stride with opportunity zone investors. An opportunity zone investment was meant to drive capital into extremely underserved markets. These areas have been designated by the governor of each state, and they represent a huge tax incentive to the investors who are driving capital. And I write the real opportunity investors are ones that actually do the kind of work to invest in projects such as ours. Low income, community action agency, large scale, medium scale solar projects that have a direct impact into the community. We have had almost no change in attitude with opportunity zone investors all the way through the pandemic, and we expect that to continue. Investment bankers, that's what you think it would be. The new ones that have come out, the new investors that have sort of come out during the pandemic as everybody's starting to restart normal-ish operations are CDFIs. They're also on mission. They do have a low-income housing concentration because it's asset-based, it's tangible, it's reliable, and it's understandable. But their job is to lend money out and make sure that it comes back in with an interest rate. And we found that some CDFIs, particularly in the Oregon project, are less concerned about what their interest rate is than how they get paid back. So that's very attractive to a proven model like HAPSOLAR's. The SBA is something that most of you will be familiar with. And the most exciting one, I think, is to go, and Keith was mentioning some political advantage, is to go directly into municipalities that are favorable towards green energy. And a lot of them are making green pledges. And seeing how they can use their borrowing and bonding capabilities to do some of these projects that may generate income for them in the long term. I mentioned these almost in every presentation, the unique tools that nonprofits have. I'm going to concentrate a little bit on CAPO because we're talking about Oregon. And if you don't know, there's a wonderful representation of our other presenter. This project wouldn't have been possible without Keith getting in touch with us and vice versa and talking through these projects. And it was amazing because we both had the same vision separately, and together we really made it happen. Without the community solar legislation that Keith helped write, without the connections of community action, the connections into the government of Oregon, this process would have been much, much harder. Keith sits on the Energy Trust Advisory Committee that wrote the community solar regulation. So when it comes to our projects having such an impact, that means something to the community solar legislators and the people who manage the project. They have given us some very, very good reviews, and they've been very patient when we have issues with the utility, which are amazingly complicated. Lastly, relying on other community action agencies, relying on some of these projects for expertise, such as in Cap Solar. There's an agency in West Virginia and Virginia that monitors new market tax credits. So there's a vast network of excellence in community action that we should try to conceive of taking more advantage of. It's an amazing network, and when I describe it outside community action, every single person is amazed, and that's the way we should treat internally and then promote ourselves externally. So what happened during COVID? During COVID, borrowing rates plummeted. There was a brief time where there was almost negative interest rates where the banks would pay you to loan money, but they are very, very low. And what did that do? Well, it had an interesting effect. It increased energy assistance dollars minimally and more to come, and it created a glut of new low-income households, which everybody's catching up to try to pay attention to and service. And one of the big things was that states increased their green pledges dramatically during the last 6 to 8 months to try to draw attention during the stimulus times that renewable energy should be a focus of any sort of recovery. What was the reality? In this market, we saw a huge increase in private lobbyists who were trying to relax most of the state mandates that low moderate income households be targeted. New Jersey's 40%. I believe that in other states it's 10, 20%. I know Oregon adopted a low income waiver for solar developers. These things, they're difficult to do. So we don't really stop at 10, 20%. We try to get 100% low income as much for our projects as possible. There are a lot of very powerful solar developers that try to force incentives into the market so that they can make more money off of the project and their end users. The utility has taken this opportunity to remove what Keith described as net metering, which is what a user gets when they don't use all the energy that they've signed up for or produce on their roof. And the utilities have created absolute barriers to entry for private developers such as us to connect to the grid. They honestly don't care who we are, what we're doing, as long as it's in the box of connecting to their grid. They have no interest. What does this do? So even though borrowing is at a record low, the risk perception is very high. It's actually higher than when money was more expensive, which is opposite because you should be willing to take more risk because your money is almost free. It increased prices, and it's totally blocking out low-income subscribers because they're considered too difficult. They have no credit, and adopting them has a huge risk. What do we think of that? Just to think to yourselves, what do we think about having this market marginalized even further in the time of need that is so, so great. So today we're gonna briefly go over 3 types of solar projects. The community solar project that has an energy assistance path-through is the description of what Oregon's project will be. It is by far the most favorable project. So if your energy assistance clients get a physical check that they can spend on their renewable energy bill through HAMPSWIRE, through CAPO, that's great. Then most of the states do not have that. New Jersey is an example. The energy assistance dollars are transferred directly to the utility, and the utility will not share it with anybody. They don't really mind having thousands of dollars per every couple of clients sitting in their bank account, giving them minimal refunds. And I'll show you this in a second. And an exciting one is municipal solar, where the municipality helps us fiscally or advises us fiscally. And in return, we solarize an entire municipality, all of their buildings. And then that leads to the ability to do more complicated community solar projects that benefit low income directly. One of the things that, One of the things that most for-profit developers do not understand is the concept of energy assistance. I've explained this to many, many for-profit developers, and they just assume it's a pot of money that acts as an incentive for them. They don't understand what we just talked about, and all of you know all too well what happens with these dollars and how restricted they are and where they go. So New Jersey just came out in the press that they filled 100% of their projects, and every developer said they were going to do 51% low moderate income. They had no idea what that meant. 65% of the awardees actually had us on the phone asking us what it meant, that they just kind of checked the box. And they knew they'd have to check the box, so they checked the box and we're going to get the award and worry about it later. The minimum LMI discount in New Jersey is 10%, 11%. That's it. That's all they have to give. So if you have a $100 bill, you're going to get $10. That's it. $120 a year is not. It doesn't make much difference. It's better than nothing, but it's not enough to really help service the people that need it the most. 100% of the applicants said that they were going to be in an environmental justice area, and they still don't know how to do that. They're trying to do some special things, just try to qualify for the things that they promise. The average delinquency removal, meaning you don't pay your bill for X amount of months, and then we're going to remove you from the project, is between 2 and 4 months. We've heard developers and their banks say that they want them closer to 2. And as you know, definition of energy assistance is that you cannot pay your energy bill. So unless you have the means to pay your bill every 2 to 4 months 100%, then you're going to have a very negative effect with this. And in New Jersey specifically, there are no pass-through dollars. So this is what a third-party energy assistance with no pass-through would look like. Someone's going to get a 10% discount. You still have to pay the taxes and the fees, and this presumes that this person gets a one-time a check for $1,200 a year. And at the end, what you can see is that in the middle, what you can see is that this person can't pay their utility bill, and their solar bill they consider a utility bill. They probably haven't been aware that the energy assistance will not pay for third-party power, such as private solar development. So they go along in the process that they normally do, and that you can see where it's an emergency, that the funds are getting high enough that they might go into their energy assistance office and say, I have an emergency shut-off notice, but only to be turned away and saying, you already got your allocation. We can't do anything. So at month 6, and this is generous, you see that the solar developer has turned off this person's power. What happens is that, yes, they get kicked out of the solar farm back to the utility. So for a 10% discount at the end would be $1,200. it would be $1,200 just on energy assistance this person would save. This person has saved a little bit more than $1,200, but now has an $890 outstanding debt, which will go against their credit. So by providing a very small discount and not understanding our clients, specifically our clients, this client has been gravely harmed. They will owe this money forever until it gets written off. And that is not the spirit of community solar. So what have we done? We have created a guarantee fund for our investors. It doesn't have to be very big, but nonetheless, when an investor says, that person didn't pay their bill, so we need to remove them because our investment is at risk. What happens is, for us, is that we have a small revolving guarantee fund that we set up per project and are hoping to set it up nationally that pays the investor what they're owed based on a 6-month late fee, a late invoice in arrears, I'm sorry. And so the investor never is in jeopardy of losing their investment, ever. And that means that community action at its core can go and service that client. Say, hey, you're behind. Is there a problem in the household? Will you not like financial literacy? Can we find anything? Can we help you with anything? Can we help you budget this? Can we get you a loan? All the things that we have as tools of community action, we can then wrap around that client that's having difficulty. And they won't be thrown off the cheap energy solar farm, the cheap price solar farm. And, the motto here in number 4 is, we don't remove clients who can't pay. We remove clients who won't pay. So that is the anti-poverty mantra of CAF Solar. Now, this is what it looks like in Oregon. This is terribly complicated, terribly lots of number stuff. But what I'll tell you is that the main points here, there are 12 different types of people getting energy assistance in Oregon, 12 different models, and they average out to what you see on the right with the yellow box. And this is a guarantee fund of $250,000, which can be either borrowed or granted for the purpose of allowing the people that need the power generation, the most inexpensive prices, to stay on that solar farm and avoid what we just showed you. If you look at the bottom, after a year, there is $230,000 left in there compared to the $250,000 that we started with. Now, next year, this may be it's not necessarily going to shrink more, but it's going to keep revolving. And we will create metrics to see how long we can keep a fund for. And when we take this nationally, those funds will be even more resilient, we believe. And we'll have all the numbers to show that. So we're talking about Oregon, and that is the Oregon development in your red circle. We actually have all of the land to the right and to the south of that white building to develop future projects with. So we had to identify the opportunity. And luckily, that guy heard about it and got in touch with us and did all the wonderful things that we said that would need to be done. There he is. And so after we planned this and really came together, we had to identify the clients, and this is an actual application the clients will get. We had to get site control. Now, this is my favorite picture of 50 because that is the actual site with the beautiful mountain in the background, and we'll take petitions to go and visit it, to go visit it locally if you guys want to ask a question to do so. He said it was complicated, and it is complicated. That's one of the premises CAF Solar is doing national projects. We know how to do this. We've already, this is what we do. This is the actual corporate structure and flow of the companies that we had to start in order to do this. This shields the nonprofit from any liability. This shields CAPO from liability. And by using for-profit mixtures of companies, it also protects Greater Bergen Community Action, which CAF Solar is a part of. We had to do all the engineering. this is the things we had to do. We're up to about 3 or 4 months in the process. Interconnection studies. This is where everyone came to a screeching halt because the utilities are very intransigent, very unfeeling engineers, if you know any electrical engineers. If you do, I'm sorry. And then we had to get our financing partner together. This is just an example of, sort of the thing we were negotiating with them. Zoning and permitting. This is actually not a complete list of zoning and permitting for this project. We had to go all the way to the FAA because it's near an airport. So they get to monitor the glare of the solar panels. It's incredible. And without Neighbor Impact, who's the on-the-ground community action agency, and Keith and CAPO, tackling this list would be next to impossible. We engaged an EPC. EPC is the constructor, the procurement, the engineering, engineering, procurement, and contracting of the project. And we had to lock them in order to be able to get financing, to get entry to the community solar project via just to apply for it. And that's what we did. So this is, we wound up with two projects that equal 4 megawatt, about 4 megawatt DC, which is about 3 megawatts AC, AC being the usable energy to the client. And this process was quite easy, and the Energy Trust people that Keith knew really made this a wonderful experience. So what have we learned? This whole project so far, and we are at the pre-interconnection point, it's taken about a year. It was, HAPSWIRE does this, so we were doing a lot of it and then getting input from Neighbor Impact and CAPO when needed. And the utility really caused a lot of delay. They're still causing some delay right now, about 6 months of delay. And believe it or not, the easiest part of this project was getting the funding. This is about a $7 million project. And we have loose commitments to it. Once the go-ahead is given, the notice to proceed on the left, the funding will be released and we can start building, which is amazing. Without the CAP partners, this would never have happened. Now, I always say this in presentations. You can do as much as you like. You can do as little as you like. We have the experience to move the project along. You'll see we have a partner in New Hampshire that wants to do as little as they can right now because they're working on a skeleton staff. None of this would have been possible without Keith as an advocate. Just because it's just a relationship that we have. Oregon has no incentives at all. And so it's a very difficult financial play. I'm going to go through these next slides pretty quickly and talk about two other types of projects we're doing. New Hampshire is also, this area in New Hampshire is an actual project that we will be undertaking. And it's different because we're actually buying a project that already exists but hasn't been constructed. All of these things, so this is the project, and this is the survey. It's going to be very similar to what we saw before. Articles of incorporation, the leases, all the studies, all the engineering, zoning and permitting, that long list, interconnection, which is the most difficult, ready to go. And the best part about this is that it's all paid for. The developer of this project who is selling this to us has already paid for everything. This process has taken 2.5 months to apply for a community solar low-income grant. Once that grant is approved, the project is approved, we can begin to build. The developer spent about $125,000 in cash to get to the point they are. It's a larger company, and they put in about $150,000 worth of time and took 2 years to get to this point. They realized that they could only give a 5 to 10% discount to their clients, and they'd be taking a big liability just in order to develop this. We bought it at $30,000, partially because of our mission. As I said, it took 2 months to get to the point of application, and it took 2 weeks to get our Opportunity Zone funders to agree to fund the project. What the for-profit developers didn't have, because they had no low-income off-takers, subscribers, is that there is a $325,000 grant that nobody has tapped in the state of New Hampshire. These are the tools that we have as nonprofits to go and get because we can service the market and there are grants available to do so. So I would urge you to keep your ear to the ground when it comes to these types of grants. With that grant, we're able to offer 40 to 60% discount on power to the end user, the low-income end user. The energy assistance model in New Hampshire is not passive, but they have a sliding scale of energy assistance percentage. If you are single, maybe you'll get a 20% discount. If you're a family of 5 or 6 or 8, maybe you'll get a 50% discount. What we realized is that at a large discount, take a 50% discount, everyone under 30%, that they get energy assistance if they're representing 30% of their bill, we can serve them cheaper than all of the energy assistance that they would get. So think about this. We are going to remove them from the need to use energy assistance because their bill with cap solar in New Hampshire will be lower than what they would get if they took energy assistance. What does that do? That frees up their spot for someone that can't get in this project that needs energy assistance. We're actually expanding the energy assistance program in New Hampshire by doing this. Now, very few people get the maximum discount, but if we do a 50% discount, think of the amount of people that we could remove from these roles, and think about the double benefit that we would be giving other people who can't get on this project. It's fantastic to us. We really look forward to partnering with the CAP in New Hampshire, who we've been talking to. So this is a very quick thing. It costs you money. I don't think anybody's going to get a $30,000, $100,000, $300,000 project. Although this developer has offered to do a lot of work with us, similar to what we've done. But it gives you is it worth spending $100,000 with a finance partner, such as us too, partnering with us? Is it worth spending $100,000 for the project if it's already pre-developed? It's a great model, and it lets these projects roll out very quickly. So the last model that we're looking at right now is the municipality partner. Now, these do not have to be in opportunity zones. And every single one of these proposed projects is in the red circle, unlike the single projects that are demonstrated earlier in the presentation. So this particular client who we've been talking to, their municipality has 44 buildings in total owned by the municipality. We propose that we do every single one of them. Every single one of the 44 buildings. They will be, if this works, they will be the first municipality in the country to do something like this. And we like doing projects like this. It is very hard to do. But in return, they have to allow us to use their municipal credit in order to do it. Now, they have extremely low interest borrowing ability near the Fed funds rate, which I think, is low. They probably get it. They're going to get it at 1 to 2%. And they have a lot of money from their bond to do capital improvement projects. So this is very exciting. So take, for example, the police station. This police station represents about a $250,000 investment, and we're looking at a 30 to 50% reduction in possible electricity costs. So the municipality wouldn't gain enough just to do this with their funds. They just wouldn't be able to gain enough. It wouldn't be worth their time to put solar on one roof, which is why we're looking at all of them. And they couldn't justify it to their constituents either. Solar is not a capital improvement project, but it's a larger project, and replacing a roof is a capital improvement project. If we took a rooftop plus solar look at this project, we would be able to use those municipal funds or borrowing to not only put solar on a roof, but replace it so that it's an ideal surface for solar. With rooftops, as long as the bracket for solar penetrates the membrane of the roof, they're considered one project, and all of the tax benefits that go for a normal solar project are applicable. all the federal tax credits, all the state tax credits, everything is applicable. And this model we're very excited about because this has never been done before on this scale. And it's a win-win. It's a win for the municipality. It's a win for us. It's a win for the community action agency that works with us. Revenue is very important to municipalities, especially in this time. So if they loaned us money, they would make money on the interest. If they loan the project money, they make profit on the interest. They also get all the power. So 50% power on top of earning all the interest income. Depending on how much they own, depending on how much they loaned, they could participate in the cash flows of the project. And when they wanted to buy the project, if it were available to purchase, all they have to do is cancel their debt to us, and the project is theirs. It's not that simple, but it's as simple as that in a high level way. We would have a very similar project than we usually do, except the money would be much cheaper, and that would allow us to do more expensive projects. Parking lot solar is a very expensive project compared to regular solar, but it can be turned into community solar for the low-income households of their same municipality. So they are getting all this benefit, plus for political reasons and other reasons, they're serving a constituency that they need to, that very few other businesses would. Normally, a for-profit developer would come in and offer a lease cost to the municipality, and that would be it. They wouldn't have the opportunity to own something like this. Doing community solar, because it's more economical in these municipalities, opens up the local community action agency to earn fees of their own, to earn development fees as partners with Cap Solar. So, thoughts about the project in conclusion. There are funding sources for the right projects. There really are. We are available to talk through those projects. I will tell you that right now, Opportunity Zone community solar projects are the easiest to fund. Single rooftop projects, unless they are exceedingly large, are very difficult to fund at this time. In Opportunity Zones, things are flexible, but if it's a $250,000 project, it's going to be difficult to get the funding because the benefit to the Opportunity Zone fund is very minimal. COVID has brought about some very unique financing opportunities for those who know how to look at these projects. I firmly believe that these projects are only capable in the minds of anti-poverty community action agencies because we understand the pain point of what our clients go through, and that's who we're trying to serve. Keep on the lookout for unique incentives for low-income solar in your area. There are new programs in New Jersey, Hawaii, New Hampshire, Oregon. Those are all new programs. I was just on the phone before this with a very exciting opportunity in Hawaii to do massive projects in Opportunity Zones, to which our investor, when we floated the idea and told them that we were going to have this conversation, they said, yeah, we'll tell them that we'll fund it preliminarily until we see the project plan. So go forward and know that 25 megawatts, which is $50 million, could be available to build these projects in Hawaii. It's very exciting. I keep saying very exciting because it is all very exciting. Foundations and guarantees are part of the process, and the hardest thing is don't expect people to be receptive because you're doing a good thing. It's a little sobering. And we're an anti-poverty agency. We just happen to provide solar as another project to help our clients. So that's my presentation. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time for listening.
I want to add to that, Stephen. So I know some community action agencies, again, the weatherization programs you run are really complex. This isn't so far outside that box where you don't have somebody on staff that could easily learn this process. But I wanted to upsell Cap Solar. They take a lot of the burden off. If your agency doesn't have some of the capacity or doesn't have some of the knowledge, they are going to do a lot of it. Him and John, their other partner, they understand the utility economics, the internet connection processes. They can carry a lot of this water. You can trust them. they're the CAP perspective, and I know there's a lot of distrust in community action agencies working with outside developers and thinking about being taken advantage of, but you don't have those concerns here. And again, John and Stephen will carry that water for your agency, and they're very helpful in that way. I'll also put in a plug. I know Meg's on here, so I'm going to put a plug in that, a lot of this plan was developed at the Puerto Rico National CAP Conference. So I want to take a plug. Take time to go to the CAP conferences. They can pay off. The relationship was definitely built after a earthquake, in San Juan. So make sure that you can go to those conferences and build those relationships. I know Stephen and I had a good time there together, and this was a brainchild last December, and we're pretty close to having the interconnection process done. So just want to talk that up.
I'll throw a plug in there. Plus, we've identified 3 or 4 other projects in Oregon. Unfortunately, because of the fires, some of them have had their lands unfortunately taken away. Keith is a member of a very exclusive energy advocate network around the country. He, I believe, is the only community action-placed energy advocate, and we now, all of us have access to that, especially through relationships with us, and as you get to know him, he's not a bad guy. So, I know this was a lot to digest. I am always here to talk. And, if you have any questions, we'd be grateful to answer them.
Thank you both, Stephen and Keith. Really appreciate your time and expertise this afternoon. So a question thinking about, Meg did text me here a question, so this is from Meg. If you could repeat what developers are offering to a municipality or a customer besides no share of the ownership, Stephen.
For a developer will go into a municipality and offer to rent their roof. That's it. If they do a community solar project, they'll offer to rent their roof. That's all. Customers will get the standard 5 to 10% discount. If forced to go higher, they will, developers will increase the discount, but petition that it get lowered. There's nothing as creative as this anywhere outside of community action that we're talking about revenue sharing and using bonding ability and low interest rate loans.
Great. And then Keith, could you share a little bit more on the role that neighbor impact is playing in terms of, I know you've been doing a lot of, it sounds like the legwork coordinating with Stephen, and just curious then, as others consider at the local level, what role they'd play in getting this off the ground.
I take over a lot of the regulatory side. So there's a process here for community solar to be certified through the commission. I was the one that kind of guided that. Our agency, a lot of the agency is going to be at the land use. They'll know their local, county commission board. So really, you don't even really need to know the solar side of it. Stephen and CAP Solar can really do most of the legwork on that. One thing that the agencies will have to do is the land use permitting, reaching out to county commissioners or city, whatever type of city government you have, but really having the local contacts to the city or the county to be able to, there's a lot of tax complexities in solar. We want to take advantage of, tax breaks, tax incentives. That's why we have these LLCs set up with our nonprofit with CAP Solar, and the funding mechanism. So the land use, that's really the two things that a local agency are going to do is enroll low-income clients to get reduced power and manage the land use permitting. It's going to be, it's hard for...
to simplify that, the same interaction you have with government agencies, state, local, possibly federal, but not likely, are the same interactions that we would need locally on from your behalf. Neighbor impact has gone way above and beyond because the executive director there used to be on the same council, that was part of this negotiation. But like I said, the same people that you deal with normally will get us and you to where we need to be. And you know, we've hired a lawyer to do a lot of the land issues HAMPSWIRE has in Oregon, engineers, interconnection specialists. You know, that's on us, and we just need local contacts and introductions with you to them.
Great, thank you. So we are, I think, are finishing up our time here. I just wanted to share a couple of slides at the end and make sure folks know how to reach us, and you know, folks may be mulling over some ideas in their mind and want to reach out later. So please feel free to reach out, and just to go to the end here. Let's see. So
what you were looking for, or you want the other one?
That's okay. I just wanted to just have this last couple slides here so folks can access some resources on our site. So in addition to solar, which we really appreciate being able to hear about today, and please keep us in the loop on how the development works and how it goes, and how we can be of assistance. But just, you know, for folks right now, as we're talking about COVID, you know, another resource we have available is for those of you who are interested in advocating before your public utility commissions or meeting with your, you know, partnering with your utility companies and really trying to consider what are some of the best routes for how to support folks right now during this crisis. We do have a great resource here for you that we have recorded on our site. We'd be happy to talk further with you in detail, but really thinking about how you can help change shut-off and collection policy right now during this time. And I don't know if folks saw the Washington Post article, for instance, just late last week, coming out talking about the millions who are at risk of losing utility and water service here in the coming days and weeks if they haven't already. And so now is the time to get involved with that advocacy effort if you're not already. So we have a resource on that and available to talk through steps you can be taking. Additional resources just about leveraging your weatherization dollars, you know, why that's important, how you can go about doing that. And also here we are in October, it's Energy Awareness Month. Weatherization Days is the end of the month, so finding ways to still celebrate all the great work you're doing in a virtual way perhaps, or in a socially distant way. We've got some resources for you on a toolkit in conjunction with NASCAST toolkit as well. And then also a webinar that we did along with NASCAST and NCAST. So hope those resources can be helpful to you. And we've already been following many of you online, and hope you can tag us throughout the month. So here's my contact information. Please reach out. We'd be happy to connect you with Keith and Stephen. And thank you again so much for today. And any last words then from Keith? We'll start with you and go from there.
Just want to reiterate that I think that the future of community action needs to diversify, and I think solar is the biggest market that we could move into to help serve our clients. So thank you for having me.
I just wanted to reiterate that everyone is doing such a great job during this pandemic, and you know, it shows our depth of expertise to help the people that need it the most during such unpredictable times. I just wanted to thank you personally for that, and thank you for attending.
All right, everybody, take care. We'll see you soon.